this question. Sketch below are the graphs of the function f of s equals to cos x plus q. Remember the q shift the graph up or down, and cos 2, these two give us the amplitude. B affects the what? The period of the graph. Now these are the two graphs. 6.1, rather the equation of the maximum turning point of G. This is the maximum turning point, where we can see that we have what? We have 30 and 2. Then 6.2, determine values of x for which f is increasing in the interval. This interval here from negative 60 to 180. So looking at f, so we can see that f here, it is still increasing. When the top of the graph increasing, the graph increases from left to right. So we're starting from the left of the graph. As we go, we can see that we're increasing. As we get here, we start to decrease. So this is happening from negative 60 less than x less than 0, or we can say x the element of negative 60 to 0. That's why that is decreasing or increasing. 6.3, determine the value of q. How is the graph shifted? So now we can say that the graph shifted downwards, meaning that q is negative. But now how do we get that value now? In this case, how can we get that value in this case? So I'm going to use this point here. This point here, I can see that 120, or let me focus on cos 120 to see the original graph of cos 120 and see how it is shifted. So I'm going to say cos 120. Cos 120 is negative 1 over 2. So cos 120 is supposed to be negative 1 over 2. Case is at negative 1, meaning that we added what? Negative 1 over 2, which means q is equal to negative 1 over 2. Then b, this b here, what does it do? It divides the period of the graph. Now let's start. Now to know the period of the graph, we know that cos or sine have a period of 360. Let me check how this period is on this graph. So this graph is starting here to decrease. Wherever this is going to decrease, that's where the period of the graph is. So I can see that here it is starting to decrease. So the decreases, it increases, just like that, and again now it's back here. The cycle from negative 122, from negative 60 to 60, which is 120. So that means the period of this graph here, it's 120 is equals to 360. That b. So multiply this by b. If you want to b is equals to 360, we divide by 120, 120 so equals to 3. So that means that my b equals to 3 in this case. So 6.4. Use the graphs, determine the values of x for which 2 cos x sine 3x minus sine theta equals to 0. Theta equals 0 means positive. Now we're going to say the 2 cos x sine 3x minus sine 3x equals to 0. Look at this here. We're going to do what? To factor out sine 3x, which you are left with 2 cos x negative 1 greater equals to 0. But if you look at this graph, it is more like the graph of a cos. If we divide this by 2, then now we know that in this case we're going to have what? We're going to have what? Or factor out what? Or factor out 2 here. Or we factor out 2 in this case. If factor out 2 on this, we're going to have 2 outside. Is sine 3x, 2 sine 3x into cos x minus 1 of 2. Factor out cos 2 here. That's what we are going to have here. So that if we multiply by 2, we factor out 2, in, we're going to have it like this, because factor out 2 is more like we are going to divide by 2. But factor out what? These 2 here, we are going to have this equals to 0. So if they are positive, meaning that all of them are above x-axis, or all of them are below x-axis. So we factor 2 here. That's what we do. So in this case, so let's go and check where the two graphs, all of them are above or all of them are below. From negative 60 to 120, all of them are below. So how do we write the interval? We're going to say this is from 16 less or equals to x less or equals to 180, where all of them are above. Here are above all of them. So in other words, we can just simply say the interval is from 0 less or equals to 120. That's where the answers are, because we're also looking where they are equals to 0. That's how we can solve that question.